Quentin Tarantino. I was asked about his movies, how I felt about some. I've kind of talked about one or two at times. Haven't really done a library reviews of them, that kind of thing, but I will definitely get to that. And I was asked to jump in, and I thought, well, I thought I could get to this for Halloween in October, but I didn't. Death Proof, which is kind of his slasher film, if you will. It's like, let me have a different take on it. Let me try something different. There are some great concepts, but I wanted your take. Is this his worst film? Because it is definitely among the worst films for me from Tarantino. Even though I like certain elements, and I want to talk about that and walk you through that. So, Death Proof is the 2007 film. It's sort of like with the Grindhouse project that he did with Robert Rodriguez, which was Planet Terror, which was Rodriguez's baby. And they kind of collaborated a little bit on trying to make this happen. It was this kind of like dual experience that you were supposed to take in. I remember sort of being very meh about it at the time. Both of them, to be honest. I know some people like Planet Terror more or whatever. I'm just sort of meh about it. So, Death Proof is basically a story about a serial killer who uses his death proof car to kill people. He's killing hot girls, basically. So the first hour of the movie is we meet these girls. We see this guy. He's called Stuntman Mike. And you have these girls. You're growing attached to them. And by the way, if you don't think Tarantino has a thing for girls' feet, oh dear Lord. There are like so many shots of girls' feet in this freaking movie. It drives me completely bonkers. And it's just, there are styles and aesthetic elements that I do enjoy, but even the hour that's this front hour with these first four main characters of girls, I like those four girls and their story best, and yet it is also way too long. It takes me forever. So, one of them is a DJ. Jungle Julia is her name. Shanna, Arlene. They go to this bar. That's where Tarantino has a little bit part, and they set up this sort of like basically it's drunk girls' night out. The DJ girl who's supposed to be super super hot, and I'm like, yeah, she's all right. I mean, she doesn't work it for me. Has got like this bet about a lap dance thing, and of Kurt Russell's character, Stuntman Mike. He knows the thing, so he's going to try to get this lap dance out of her, or whatever. Big twist, he's the serial killer, right? So, that first sequence, which takes an hour, and you have this very graphic approach to the death scene, what he does is he has them going in a head-on collision. And then he kind of cuts and shows you the impact multiple times, multiple ways. So you see how each girl actually died, right? And the roll cage of the car has been rigged up for a stuntman, so Mike survives, right? And there's a quick little shot with the police debating whether or not he's involved. The girls are, of course, wasted. He has no drugs or alcohol in his system, so he's going to get away with it. And then we flash forward a little over a year, I think it's 14 months, and we get story number 2, which is where we get Hera and Ahsoka. We get Rosario Dawson and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, right? So they're among the four girls. There's four girls. The fourth girl is actually an actual real life stunt woman, Zoe Bell, and she plays Zoe Bell, and she's the one that's on the front of that car during the crazy chase sequence that they have in the second half of the movie. That last hour, well, sorry, not the last hour, the last 40 minutes or so, where it's those girls and they're on their journey and they're sitting around talking and all of this stuff about Zoe, I was like bored out of my mind. The dialogue is awful. It is literally a guy thinking he knows how girls talk, and the pacing and the lack of spaghetti brain, the lack of like emotional thing. It's like guys, it's almost like the girls were cosplaying as like locker room talk with guys. Like it's like Reservoir Dogs. It's like that kind of thing. It's so bad. It's terrible. It's totally unbelievable. I have 3 daughters, wife, mother-in-law around me all the time. No, there was not an ounce that any of that felt believable for any length of time. Like there were moments and then it just falls apart. Moments, no. Moment, no. Then it gets worse because Kurt Russell is running into them. And by the way, this is where the movie ends, because there's a quick little shot where it cuts to black and white. You have a little sequence which is black and white for a minute. And Kurt Russell is looking great, and all that starts. So when we finally get to the story where the girls are going to get this other car, and they're doing this crazy stunt thing they're doing, and it's just the story is just contrived for Tarantino to deliver this idea that he has. story wise, just stop the car and get off. Like, it just, there's little things about it that doesn't make any sense. But that notwithstanding, let's keep things moving. The movie is a complete disaster for me because when it starts to get crazy, Kurt Russell's character, the serial killer, becomes a whiny biatch. I mean, like, he was crying at the end of this movie. Like, he finally got hurt, and you're like, ah, ah. I'm like, oh my gosh. It was so unbearable. I have to be honest, I was ready to quit several times. I know how the movie ends. I've only watched it. I know I've seen it twice. I know I saw it in the theater. I know I saw it one other time. And I was like, well, I'm going to watch it. It's there. It's free. It's on Tubi. Yeah, I'm done. Let me just add a couple things here from the trailer because there are some things I do like, probably more than I do. So this is the first sequence. This is the hot girl that he got to get the lap dance from. There's him kind of casing the point, and he is stalking them, even though they're kind of playing that up as not being. This is her lap dance thing that they're doing for.
Talking y'all, but I didn't say it wasn't a wolf.
Yeah, this is that part. Yeah. So, I mean, it's Kurt Russell. It's all Kurt Russell all the time, every way you can imagine. Oh, that's Rose McGowan, by the way. It's like, it was hard to realize it was her. I knew who she was, and it just didn't click. But yeah, here's like the last sequence of when he's like super, super cool. Like, he's escaped from LA, escaped from New York. He's like super, super cool here. And then it falls apart by the end of the film. So all of this is from that first sequence. This is him explaining to her how it would work to give her a ride home. So yeah, that's how all that played up. So he actually let all this go in the trailer, huh? Interesting. I think it would have been good to not maybe share quite as much as he did. I'm glad I didn't see this. Now, see, this is the part I would like when he would do these interesting credits and things like that. So I do like some of the graphics and things like that for this, but it all turned sideways. This is all first half of the movie stuff before you get to this. This is them finally getting to the second half of the movie and when it kind of goes sideways. So, again, it's typical Tarantino. Like, there are moments that are great, these cool shots and things like that. But the problem with Death Proof is, unlike many of the other movies, this one just feels like he was reverse engineering this car chase, and there's really not as much of a motivation. I don't know. I felt like there's just not as much of a motivation for this car chase. This is actually Zoe Bell on the hood of that car. She's actually a stunt woman, so they actually have her on the car. So there you go. That's I don't know. That's my take on it. And like I said, I go back to my original question: is this the worst Tarantino film for you? Are there others that you would rank above and below? A lot of people don't care for his sort of like alternative timeline approach to everything, which I totally get. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about it. I'm not a huge fan of some of that, especially with like Inglourious Bastards. I was like, yeah, I don't know, maybe. I need to rewatch some because there's some I haven't seen in so long. I don't, again, like some of his movies that I don't care for, I know I've only seen like twice, right? So I know that it is probably not appropriate, or we're supposed to not say whatever, because I really just don't care too much about like Jackie Brown. But at the same time, I love Pulp Fiction. I love Reservoir Dogs, Kill Bill movies, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Those are kind of my top of the list. And then I have like Hateful Eight and Django in the middle. And then that's when I have like Death Proof kind of at the bottom with Jackie Brown. So I'll have to watch Jackie Brown again. And I'm going to have to watch this Planet Terror again before it's taken off Tubi. And give those a whirl and tell you what I think. So you guys let me know. Yeah, that's my take on it. And for those of you for you that asked, you know who you are. You wanted me to dive into some Tarantino. That's your first little dose. There you go. I am Pops. Take care, everybody.